How you do? Welcome back to the 50p Movie Club channel for today's video where I'm going to try something new. I am really into at the moment, and have been for a long time actually, watching pickup videos. So watching people go out into their local areas, hit up the charity shops, do searching, sometimes for reasons to flip, sometimes just to pad out and add to the collection. I'm a massive fan of watching them. I've spoken about my love of watching hour-long videos of people walking around boot fairs. I'm not going to do a boot fair video today, and I probably won't do one for the future because the last few times I've been to a boot fair I felt really uncomfortable in terms of social distancing and stuff like that. And I thought, as the measures are probably about to get stricter over the next couple of months, I thought, why not just do a similar style video where I head out into Canterbury, visit some of the charity shops, visit CEX, visit HMV, and anything else that takes my fancy, show you some of the sights of Canterbury, and hopefully add some more to the collection, which would be good. So the parameters for today's visit are: I have £30 to spend. I can't overspend. I can underspend, obviously, but I can't overspend. I'm looking solely for stuff that adds to my collection. I'm not looking for flip stuff or just things that might be worth resale value. I'm not really into that. I'm also looking for things that I really want, so I'm not really looking out for padding material. I'm looking for things that actually interest me, that I want to watch. I'm quite keen not to just have loads of stuff. I've had a big clear out recently. I do feel like I'm just one of these people that just likes to collect things and then gets bored and then passes them on. So for me, I'm looking for things that I'm going to read, things I'm going to watch. I'm not doing any music because I've really cut down on my CDs recently, and I think that's for the best. And just anything else that I think is interesting. So the plan is I'm going to go around, I'm going to film as much footage as I can. I'd imagine, due to music being played in the shops and stuff like that, the soundtrack to what's about to follow will be overdubbed, so it'll be me talking over footage that I've shot. I'll try and show you interesting things where I can film, so even if I don't necessarily buy them, I'll pull out some stuff from the shops and just have a little chat with you about it. And then we'll see what I've got when I get back. So, I've got my mask ready, hence no glasses. Let's get on with this, shall we? I'll see you at the end of the video with my pickups. So there's quite a few different ways into town from where I live, but as today is glorious weather, I have decided, and there's some charity shops I want to visit on the outskirts of town. I thought I'd take the longer way into the city, which is obviously way nicer. It's quite windy today though, but it's definitely shorts weather, which is good. I'll take shorts weather right up until Christmas if I can get it. I just thought I'd shoot a bit of B-roll here so you can see this quirky old pub in front of us. Man, I love my city. So the first charity shop that I went into was Pilgrim's Hospice charity shop, as you saw in the footage. As you can see, this has quite a good range of kids' books and toys. I didn't spend long looking at the toys because I wasn't really looking for them. But I did have a little look at the kids' books because I'm always on the hunt for original Goosebumps. You'll notice at the top there were some Harry Potter books. They're always good for resale if you fancy it. Here we are looking at the kids' DVDs. This first one is a Pokemon DVD that I don't recognise. All the DVDs in this charity shop were priced at $1.25, which I don't think is too bad, to be honest with you. It's probably the upper end of what I'm willing to spend on a DVD these days. But it's not as bad as some of the shops that come up later on. Here we see a film with a rock in it. Not one that I remember. And I found some Blu-rays at last, which is great. So the Blu-rays in this shop are priced at $2.50. Rambo Last Blood is actually one I need, but I actually didn't pick it up today. This one I've heard a lot about. Local Hero. Saw someone pick this up recently on their own little video. Now this next one I pick out is interesting because I think if I was looking for flip value, I probably would have bought this because it's a BFI release and it's a collector's edition and it was only £2.50. I probably would have got a good bit of resale for it. But like I said at the start, I wasn't really looking for resale today. There's quite a good range of DVDs in this store, to be honest with you. See some great titles there. Full Metal Jacket, the classic Green Street featuring West Ham. More than one copy of Green Street, in fact. I'll find another Blu-ray here on this shelf, The Wrestler. Great film. This one's interestingly not priced, and I actually don't own it on Blu-ray. As I look across the shelf, there's Wonder Woman, another classic. I just pulled this one out because I want to talk about it. I think Jim Carrey is really good in number 23. The film's not amazing, but he plays a serious role really well in that, I think. There's some really good deals on box sets in this charity shop as well because it seemed to just be like $125 for all DVDs, no matter how big they were, which I think is actually really good value. So we're looking at DVDs in the Age Concern charity shop here. First one I pull out is American Dreams. Now I feel this film got a really bad rap. I think there's some really good humour in there and it's a really good send up of the reality show format. Age Concern can be a bit hit or miss because sometimes the staff don't really know what they're doing in there, but the DVDs are normally well priced. This is the first of a Premiership Goals DVD set that I pulled out, featuring the awesome Paolo Di Canio. Just looking through the rest of the DVDs here. There's some really good titles, but I'm not really looking for DVDs today. So it's just on to trying to find that elusive, no, not a Goals DVD with Alan Smith on the front, but an elusive Blu-ray in this set. If I was looking for DVDs, there would be some titles here that I'd potentially think about, particularly this one. Not a bad little shout there for 20p, I think it was. Batista, best of collection from WWE. These 4 film sets are really a really good source for those 50p movie clubs, actually. They've often got 4 really bad films on. That one actually had some good ones on it. Just flicking through the collection. Not much else to see here. Nothing that took my fancy anyway. So we went into Bernardo's. I didn't film downstairs because there's not much downstairs. And actually I was on my own upstairs, so I didn't feel too guilty about doing it. They've got a really good range of books in this charity shop. They always do. The problem is, I find it a little bit chaotic for my sensibilities. This is a great book, by the way. I know it's not really a good thing to be eating loads of meat at the moment with the climate change stuff. But if you ever want to know how to cook meat properly and just general stuff about meat, that book is awesome. Avoiding the CDs like the plague. Just here, found the first section of DVDs. There's some games in here as well, which is quite exciting. The first one I pull out is The Commitments. This is a film that Emma's been on at me about watching recently, so I've actually picked it up on Blu-ray. Just going through, there's some good titles there. Some stand-ups, some TV series. And then we come across the first PlayStation 2 game. This is Peter Jackson's King Kong. It's not a game I own. I've heard mixed reviews about it. And then just onto the next shelf, we've got Horrible Bosses, Pride. I pull out this one here because I think it's a classic film because I couldn't read the script properly. Then I realised it was the first series of Pretty Little Things, so I left that as it was. Another copy of Green Street. And we've got 2 more PlayStation games. Now this first one really excited me. It's called Smarty's Meltdown, but unfortunately when I went to look at the disc after I finished recording, it was absolutely rinsed. So there was no way I was paying the money for it. This right here is the best WWE game in existence, in my opinion, for the general manager mode alone. And it's good to see a PlayStation 3 sports title, because actually there's not FIFA, because we don't see that many of them over in this country, in my opinion. And could you want a better 2-disc set than this? Essentially the same story, but the cars are replaced with planes. We've got Goal 3 there, the classic. Might mention that later. And then we've come across some Blu-rays. This is not a copy of Romeo and Juliet or a version of Romeo and Juliet that I'm familiar with. It was interesting to see there. I think it's Series 3 of Breaking Bad on Blu-ray. I'm kind of done with Breaking Bad now. I've worked my way through it. And Law Abiding Citizen. The price wasn't too bad for Blu-rays. I think £3 probably a little bit more than I want to spend on something just to pad out the collection. I'm always thinking about buying these Incubus Volume 1 and 2 DVDs because I love a bit of Incubus. And then there's one more music DVD in this section that I just want to flag up. And that is Blink-182 Urethra Chronicles Part 2. Now, Part 1 is definitely better, but if you see this kicking about and you like Blink-182, it is worth getting. It gives good insight into the background of the band. And then right at the end there is Nacho Libre. Not a fan of that film. They've also got these sort of reconditioned ones on a stand. Some Heights High is the first one I pick out. I really like Chris Lilly's comedies. I think he does a really good job and they're really funny. This is very much a 50p movie club collection here. 4 movies I've never heard of. Very little information about the movies. Now, all the movies in this section are $1.99 or 4 for £4, I think it is. Or 2 for £4 rather. No, it must be 3 for £4. I'm a bit in two minds about it really. Satan's Little Helper is not something I've seen. I was quite keen on this, but I don't really want to be spending $1.99 on DVDs these days. It's 3 for $4.99 in fact. I'm trying to move all my collection onto Blu-ray these days, and $1.99 seems a bit steep. Now, I pulled this DVD out because this is actually the third copy I've seen in 3 different charity shops. I don't know if they've just given it away to local school kids and they've all given it away, but there just seem to be loads of them out and about today. Just having a little look down further. There's some more stand-up. Avoiding the CDs like a plague. Not buying CDs today. Not buying CDs today. Not buying CDs today. What else have we got on the rack? There's a Conan. Bad Education. I'm a big fan of at least watching computer game tie-in movies. Mortal Kombat Annihilation is obviously the sequel to the box office smash. I haven't actually seen this, and again, I was considering it, but I prefer it on Blu-ray or for a slightly cheaper price, so I didn't take it home with me. In fact, I didn't get anything from this shop, unfortunately. There's another SmackDown game. I'd imagine that's just £1. And just as we're climbing up, talking of video game tie-ins, this is a Dead Rising manga film. Again, I was interested in this, but I don't really want to be paying $1.99 these days for DVDs. Because I feel like they're just things I cling on to till I've watched or till I can replace and then end up going back to the charity shop. I get that these would be reconditioned and stuff, but still a bit high for me. That said, this is a really good special edition version of Conan the Barbarian. I do actually have this on Blu-ray, that's why I wasn't even that fussed on that one. But that might have been something that might have swayed my hand. Just scrolling around and we got another spindle full of DVDs. Heaven, I think, is a Mariah Carey film, isn't it? I didn't really look at it. There's a Steve-O thing there. The next movie I pull out is another one that's quite interesting, but I don't know. It'd probably just tie it, but $1.99 really does seem too expensive for me for a DVD, for something that I'm potentially going to watch and then pass on rather than keeping the collection. So, again, I passed on it. Some more different things here. Oh, now, Adam Sandler, I'm a big fan of. I think that's a good collection. If you collect DVDs and you're a fan of Adam Sandler, there's 3 good Adam Sandler movies on there, I think. Grown Ups being the special one. Who remembers The Tribe from TV? That was a great show. I think it was on Channel 5. That's why I picked it up. And then I've got Johnny Cash collection here as well. Like I said, I think this shop had some really good DVDs, but I wasn't looking for DVDs, and I think they were a little bit overpriced for what they were. There's another Saw movie there. A Pride UFC DVD, which might have been interesting to some people. Again, avoiding the CDs. Wait a minute, is that Shadow's fault? Oh, okay. Now, I picked up Space Chimps, not because I wanted to see the film, but apparently the Wii game of the film is actually really good, and it's one of the games on my list I'm still hunting for Wii. I've kind of wound in collecting retro games at the moment, but Space Chimps on the Wii is one I'm still looking for. Here we've got Going Off Big Time, which I think is the most randomly titled film we see today. I, again, would have been intrigued to watch this had it been maybe 50p. And that's the thing. There's lots of movies here that if they'd have been 50p, I probably would have taken a chance on. But 1.99 is just too high for me. And that's the last time I'll say that, I promise. This one looked interesting. American Mary. Looks like some kind of slasher film. I think I've seen that knocking around on Shudder. So that might be something I'll be able to stream later and check out. And then we're back to the beginning on the Spindles. So this was actually a charity shop I didn't film the outside of. This charity shop is one that I often avoid because it's so far out of town. It often has good stock, but it was really, really messy. And actually, they've done a lot to tidy up. I love this Godfather collection, by the way. I don't need it on DVD. I'm looking for an equivalent version on Blu-ray. I don't think £5 for that is a bad ask because actually the extras and the style of that are really good. There's a complete series of Space there on DVD. I don't know if you caught that. That's really exciting. There was a lot of really good TV shows, box sets in this shop. It's still got a little element of chaoticness on it, but it wasn't as bad as it has been in the past. Now, I'm pulling out the only Blu-ray that I really found in here, which was Tropic Thunder. I'm not buying this film. I don't see why Robert Downey Jr. had to do blackface for it. I think it was made at a time when that wasn't really necessary. There's, like I said, lots of TV shows, and there's a copy of Clueless. Exciting. Two of the places on my list that are closed. I'm not having the best of luck today. It's probably a good thing the second place was closed, to be honest, because I've got a budget. It's always a dangerous place to go, but maybe I'll do another video there at another time. So this section of footage is actually taken from Burgate Books, which is a charity shop that I used to volunteer in. And it always has a really good supernatural section, which is kind of what I am filming now. There's a lot of religious books in it this week, but I just thought this was kind of funny. I kind of wanted to show you this book, but it was actually a bit of a disaster. Just seemed to be like a pretty cool picture, Osborne-style ghost book, but I had terrible trouble trying to film it. Then I decided to do a bit of a rogue move and drop in on Poundland, because I saw Big Jules, who is a local YouTuber, buying Blu-ray from there. So pulled out Kickboxer Retaliation. I thought this was the one with Batista in it, which is why I pulled it out, but I couldn't see him or his name on the title, on the front or on the back. So I just put it back. And just before that, they've had a lot of copies of the England story of 2018 World Cup, which I like a sports documentary. Speaking of which, I pulled this one out. It's one that I own. It's a documentary on Nottingham Forest European Cup victory under Brian Clough. It's well worth a watch, and for £2 it would be well worth buying. I do like a sport documentary, and I'm trying to just build up my Blu-ray collection a little bit on sport documentaries. 89, which is about Arsenal's triumph in 1989, funnily enough, is one of the ones that I don't own. So it was interesting to see so many copies of that there. And Southpaw as well is another one that I quite enjoyed as a film, and wouldn't mind owning actually. Now, what Poundland have done is they obviously do this refurbished stock. So you can see there the latest Rise of the Foot Soldier film. I've not seen any of those, but I'd imagine, I quite like a gangster flick, so I'd imagine they'd be up my street at some point. It's good to see so many Blu-rays in here. 4 copies of Pixel seems about right. I didn't actually hate this film as much as most people thought, but I don't really want a copy of it on Blu-ray, so back on the shelf it goes. There was a lot of copies of Paper Towns, Apollo 18, which I've never even heard of. And then I pulled this one out, wondering what it was, and it was a demonstration disc from Comet. I don't know why anybody would want to pay £2 for that, but there we go. Lots of copies of 89. And then I thought I'd take you to CEX, and this is the home of the 50p Movie Club. This is where we get all of our source material pre-lockdown. So I thought I'd just give you an idea of how many videos and DVDs there are in this place. CEX is an incredible shop. How you do? I am back from town. I mean, admittedly I came back a while ago, but this is the pick-up section of this video. I'm just going to take you through some of where I've been today, explain some things that maybe wasn't on the footage, and most importantly show you what I picked up. I spent almost £30 on the dot, I think, maybe even potentially £1 more than I should have done. All good, but I'm going to show you what I picked up. We're going to go through it in chronological order as per the video. We started our way by walking through the park because that's the most beautiful way of getting into town. Like I said on the introduction, it is a longer way of getting into town from my house. However, it was a beautiful day. I needed the exercise, and it also put me at a point in town where I could work my way in and not miss any of the charity shops. That said, I did actually miss one of the charity shops today, and I only realised when I was editing the footage from the trip earlier. So the first place we went to was Pilgrim's Hospice. Now, the Pilgrim's Hospice charity shop was actually pretty good, I have to say, in terms of stock. There used to be 2 charity shops up that way. There used to be an RSPCA charity shop as well, but that's closed down. I didn't know that until I'd asked the lady that was working in the charity shop, in the Pilgrim's Hospice shop, whether it was still open. And it wasn't, which is a shame. Nobody really wants to see charity shops go down, but we have got a lot in Canterbury. So there were, as you saw from the video, there were a few Blu-rays. They were sort of price point at £2.50. There was one that I said, I think it was called Scandal, where I was like, if I was looking for stuff to flip, I would have taken that one. But I did say at the outset I wasn't looking for stuff to flip, and I was only looking for things that I wanted. So I didn't take that home, but I did take a Blu-ray home that I showed you, and that was Local Hero. This is a story essentially about dealmaker that is sent to a Scottish village to buy the village for an oil refinery. So they're a big corporation. Right up my street. I'd imagine there's some good socialist issues raised in this. It's got some really lovely special features. It's an 80s film. It's restored to 2K, so it'll probably look fantastic. It's in rear. The discs are phenomenal. So this charity shop, I don't know if you can see that, but this charity shop sticks sellotape across, so you can only check it if you open it yourself, or if you do what I like to do and take it to the counter and ask them to open it. I opened it and I could not believe the quality of this. So you've got 2 discs inside. You've got the main film on disc 1, and then you've got a disc full of bonus features. So I'm really looking forward to checking this out. Like I said, I'd seen another YouTuber pick it up, and from what they said about the story, I was like, yeah, I want to see this. So that was interesting. Now, as you watch through that video, you will have noticed how many times I said, I'm not going to buy any DVDs. I don't need to buy any DVDs. This shop tested that theory straight away, because there were some really good DVDs. And like I said in the footage, all the DVDs were $1.25. Didn't matter if they had 16 16 discs or just one disc. £1.25 flat fee I love that kind of pricing system. I think that makes charity shop hunting worthwhile because you can find a real bargain. There were some great bargains in there. There was two that really tested me, which I ended up leaving behind. So there was an Ip Man 3 movie collection, which I love the Ip Man movies. I had them on DVD. I got rid of them to upgrade them to Blu-ray, and I'm yet to upgrade them to Blu-ray. And this set was in such good condition, and it was £1.25, and I was really, really tempted. You'll hopefully see a picture up there of it. I was really tempted to buy it, but I left it behind because I wasn't buying DVDs. There was another DVD in there. Again, as I said in the footage, I'm looking to sort of build up my sports documentary collection in Blu-ray. One of those ones that I want is Zidane, a 21st century portrait. This wasn't on Blu-ray, it was on DVD, as you can see. I held it for a while, I thought about it, I left it behind. However, there was one DVD that I couldn't leave behind. One of my fave films is to go to when I just want to chill out and I don't really want to think about it, is The Warriors. I love The Warriors. I love the concept of it. I like how culty it is now. I like the gangs. I like just the easiness of the movie to get into. Yes, there are some scenes that are a bit violent and a little bit controversial, but overall, for the time period, it's a great film. So when I saw this DVD, I had to pick it up. And so it's the case is in Dutch. So I had to check it wasn't a Dutch language film because on the back, I don't know if you can see this, but on the back it says ondertiteling Netherlands. Now, I worked out that undertitling was probably subtitles, so I realised that the subtitles were in Dutch, so I was hoping it was English, and I saw that there was something that said Taal Engels. So I was like, Engels has got to be English. So I need to check out what Taal is. So I actually Googled it. I was like, Dutch translation of Taal, and Taal means language. So it's an English language film. I can't tell you what it's about, but it says New York 1963. It's definitely got a Warriors vibe to it. Anybody that listens to 50p Movie Club will know how much we love Asylum Pictures, where they just knock off mainstream films. I feel like this might be a precursor to Asylum Pictures, and I kind of want to check it out. I picked it up and put it down about 3 times because I really didn't want to buy a DVD, but then I just had to check it out. So I'll let you know. I think I might even do a review video about this when I've watched it. We might do a Warriors Wanderers comparison video and see where that comes out at. But I'm quite pleased with this. It was £1.25 like all the DVDs in the shop. A little bit more than I'd like to pay for a DVD, but when it's something as unique as this, I really couldn't leave it behind. So those were the 2 that I picked up from Pilgrim's Hospice. The next one we went to, which you only saw footage from the outside because it's a really claustrophobic shop, very hard to get shots where I'm not getting people in, was the first British Heart Foundation. Now, we've actually got 2 British Heart Foundation charity shops in Canterbury. I don't know why, but we have. This was the first one that I came to. There was some good stuff in there, but nothing that really blew me away. I haven't got any pictures to show you. They had some original Xbox games, which, you know, had it been 5-10 months ago, I probably would have bought them because that's just what I was into at that point. I've kind of got the Xbox games that I want that are sort of mid-range now, and there's a few higher price titles that I'm looking for. These weren't the high price titles, and actually, I think they were probably a little bit overpriced. Probably could have got them cheaper and in better condition from CEX. Other than that, there wasn't really lots to report home in that British Heart Foundation shop. That shop can be really good, but I find with British Heart Foundation charity shops, they tend to be on the nose with the prices. So they know the value of things. They spend a bit of time looking up. And I get it. It's a charity shop. They've got to do that, but it kind of takes away the fun of what I like to do. So I didn't pick anything up from there. The next one I went into was Age UK. I didn't buy anything in there, but I had a really good sort of experience in there because I've been in there so many times before. It's one of those charity shops that previously, you know, it was a bit funky smelling. It was a bit disorganised. The staff were older people, which is not a problem, but, you know, they often don't know what they're doing in terms of pricing media, particularly media, which, you know, is great in some circumstances because there was some in there that just priced everything really low and then you got some really good bargains. So I picked up some anime Blu-rays from there previously, not Blu-rays, DVDs rather, which I passed on to Dave for his kids, and they were like 50p each. and they were like full series of stuff, and I was like, I can't leave these here. But I've also been in there and I've seen like Green Street for £3 on DVD, and it's just like it seemed to in the past just be largely about who was there and who priced it up. They seem to have changed things. The shop's been refurbished, which is awesome. There was a sort of standard consistent pricing. I think it was somewhere between 20p and 50p for all DVDs. There wasn't anything I wanted in there. I was sort of semi-tempted by the Premiership goal set, but they didn't have all of them, and actually I probably wouldn't have kept them. I probably would have watched them once and given them back to them. So it was a bit of a waste for today's budget. There were two things in there that you didn't see on the footage, which I found quite amusing. The first one was this DVD. I love the idea of picking this up. I was kind of tempted to get it just to see what it was, but then I was like, why do I want to watch this? Like, it's a Scientology DVD. It's an induction DVD. I don't understand it. The second thing that made me laugh, but kind of annoyed me a little bit as well, was they had literally 3 baskets worth of very blatant pirate DVDs that they were selling, as you can see from this picture here. And this was half of them. This wasn't even all of them. They had another set that were in like, they had the full size covers and the DVD, but they were in slipcases again. And there were so many of them. I get they've been donated, but actually I feel like pirate DVDs, if they get donated to charity shops, probably should be destroyed. And they weren't the only offenders. They were by far the worst because there was loads of them. And the thing with these is because they obviously knew they weren't pirate. They were pirate. So instead of pricing them up individually, they just said, make a donation at the till. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess it would have ended up in a landfill if they hadn't done that. But at the end of the day, they're pirate DVDs, and that's part of the reason why, you know, DVDs cost so much, why it costs so much to go to the cinema, on top of other things. I'd rather they weren't in charity shops. It also, when they're good copies, when they're good pirate copies, it makes it really hard for a collector because it's sometimes hard to tell the difference. You might think you've got something great and then it actually turns out to be pirated, and that's really disappointing as well. We then popped over the road to Bernardo's, which you kind of saw a little footage of us moving between the two. The Bernardo's shop is lovely. I love the way that it's laid out. It's always got a cabinet in the window that's sometimes got some really interesting stuff in it. Today was just full of cameras, which if that's your thing, that's cool, but it's not mine. So we headed straight upstairs. You saw everything in this shop really that was of interest, apart from this, which was just standing on the shelf. Just sitting on the shelf. It wasn't priced. I feel like someone had left it behind. It was really cool though. I like that it was the pixelated artwork and not the actual artwork characters. So you don't see that every day. Now there was no footage from the following shop. That's because the guy that works there is literally there all the time, the manager, which is cool. You know, he gets a salary for it, but he's kind of grumpy, and I just didn't want to risk filming. It's a shame because it's one of my favourite charity shops. It's just a bookshop really. There's some CDs and some sheet music and sort of some kind of media-ish stuff at the back, but it's full of books. I went in there. I always look for a few things, so I always look for Jack Kerouac books, preferably ones I don't have. Today they had 2 and they were really nice copies. I'm pointing up here. I'm guessing this is where the image is going to be, but I don't actually know what I look like framing, so it might be over here. But somewhere on the screen there's an image of these 2 Jack Kerouac books I found. I love these covers, but I couldn't justify buying them. I've got copies of both of them. I've actually got an older copy, an older copy of the Subterraneans. So that would have been a downgrade taking this one. And I've got an original, and my copy of On the Road I'm never going to get rid of because I bought it from City Lights Bookshop. It's a scroll version, and I've got the receipt stuck in it. I'm never going to get rid of that, so there's no point in taking either of them. But the artwork on these are great. I really love the Corgi titles. I then was just kind of scooting at the rest of the books, and they had like literally every James Baldwin book going, and I picked them all up to start with because I was just like, I want them all. But then I was like, I can't buy them all because I've got a budget. I owned a couple of them already, so the 2 that you can see wherever they are, they're Corgi covers of If Beale Street Could Talk and Go Tell It on the Mountain, which I own copies of. I've just got into James Baldwin recently, within the last sort of year and a half. Love his writing style, love what he writes about. It was really cool to see these because I never see him out in the wild, so to speak. But but I couldn't buy them. I couldn't justify buying double copies. There was other books in there. They had about 5 or 6 different titles that I've never seen in charity shops. I've seen in proper bookshops, but not in charity shops. I was so tempted to buy them, but I kind of had to narrow down which ones I bought. So I did buy a couple of books as part of today's challenge from that shop, and they were both James Baldwin titles. The first one was just this. This is these Penguin Classics versions with the green spine, light green spine, are the ones that I've got the other 2 James Baldwin books that I own. This is the series that they're in. So Giovanni's Room is one of the ones that I wanted to read. It's set in 50s Paris. I like stories that are about characters and they build up characters. James Baldwin does it really well. So this is one that was a bit more on my radar and I kind of wanted for a while. This particular copy was $1.99, which I thought, is quite good value. That's about standard pricing for these books. So I got this one, Giovanni's Room, and I also picked up by the same author, but thankfully on one of the corgi covers. So I was able to take one of the cool corgi covers home. Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone. I don't know a lot about this one, to be honest. This is not a novel I know much about. I'm just pleased to own a corgi cover of it. It's actually, considering it's 40 odd years old, it's actually in really good nick. I don't know, you can't really see that, but really pleased to own this. This one was slightly more expensive. It was £2.49. But yeah, I'm pleased to own it. I will definitely read it. It's going in the collection. I do collect books as well. So I'm really excited to have this, particularly American authors. That's my thing. So this is really cool. So after I've been in Oxfam Bookshop, I kind of took a side road. You saw all the hanging baskets in the footage. I was going to go to a supermarket. I'd been in it a couple of weeks ago and it had a really good media selection. So I was like, I thought I might film in there, show you some of the media. I probably wouldn't have bought anything in there, but showed you some of the physical media that's in that supermarket because it does it really well. However, I just couldn't be bothered. I started walking in that direction because I knew there was a charity shop down there. And when I got to the charity shop, which was Shelter, where the copy of Clueless was, I kind of just went in there, did my little rummage, came out and decided not to go to Sainsbury's. But there were you saw most of the interesting stuff in the footage from that shop, but there were a couple of things that weren't in the footage that I wanted to highlight from stills. So the first one is this film, Basketball. It's a stupid film. It's from Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the South Park creators. It's just really dumb, but I've loved it since I was a teenager. It's one of those ones I've kind of held on to, and you don't often see it out on DVD. I've got a copy of it on DVD. I don't have it on Blu-ray, unfortunately. So I didn't pick this one up, but it was cool to see out there. It's a slightly different version to the one I've got. Possibly would have been an upgrade, but I wasn't really in the business for doing that. The other thing was, as I was leaving, I noticed in the window, they had these 2 cool items here. So it was a Dungeons and Dragons box set, DVD box set of the series, I think it was, which looked really cool. Had a reasonable price on it. I think it was between 20 and 30 quid, but the picture might say otherwise. And then there was another thing, which was like a big Warner Brothers collection of a film, which I've completely forgotten what it was, but it's there and I was excited by it. And the only way I'll be able to see it is by stopping this recording and looking on my phone. I'm not going to do that. It's up there. Have a look at it. Look at the picture. Tell me what you think below. Yeah, it was exciting. You then saw some footage of us going to a shop called the Melzer. That charity shop's really hit or miss with media. They had loads of media out the back, but there was nobody around to ask. I couldn't see if there was anything too exciting, but there probably was at least double what was on the floor, which was really frustrating because I'm kind of thinking Blu-rays must take so long to shift. Surely you want as many as you can out there to get rid of some rather than just having stuff sitting out the back. There was nothing on the floor really to shout about. It's just your standard DVDs. I'm pretty sure there was about 100 copies of Green Street. But then I moved on and I went to Burgate Books, which you saw me filming very clumsily, the Ghost book. That is a really cool charity shop. I used to volunteer there for about a year. Had a really good time just sorting the donations and pricing the books and finding little cool things for my own collection from it. It was a cool place to work. It's always got a really good range of books. They've actually got a massive DVD sort of section in there. There wasn't anything particularly exciting for me today other than this steel book. I'm always a bit hesitant to buy steel books. I've got some in my collection. I've got one on pre-order. but I don't really like them. I get that they're fancy, but they're really hard to keep in good nick. They scratch really easily. This one was in really good condition, but it didn't have any. There was no slip cover. There was no information about what was on it and what made it special. And I think they were asking £3.50, which is not a bad price for a Steelbook Blu-ray. But it was Men in Black 3. I don't have the others. I can't even remember what happened in Men in Black 3, so I just left it behind. Then went across the road. Well, no, actually I didn't. I went next door to a charity shop, which I can't remember what it's called. I think it might be Red Cross. And it was closed for lunch. Brilliant. So, as you remember from the footage, I'd gone to a bookshop which was for Catching Lives, which is our local homeless charity. That's closed until further notice, which is really a shame because it was a really good bookshop. So I'm not sure whether that one will reopen. And then I went to Level Up Games just to show you guys what it was, and that was also closed because it was someone's who owns the shop's birthday. So that's 3 shops in a row now that I'd been to that were closed. So I went into Cancer Research. I'm less and less enamoured by the Cancer Research shop in Canterbury. It tends to sell more new stuff now, which is fine. It probably makes them more money, but it's frustrating for me. Just likes to have a rummage. They did have some Blu-rays, nothing to shout about, but they had this on the shelf. Very, very clearly a pirated copy of the remake of The Omen, and it was on sale for £2. £2. Like, who's sorting that out and going, oh, this is clearly genuine? I feel like I've skipped over something now. Oh yeah, so after that, I went round and I was walking towards another charity shop, and I remembered watching a video last night about a local YouTuber guy who does a similar thing. Goes out, has a look around shops, collects Blu-rays, and he went into Poundland, and I was like, why is he going into Poundland? And they had loads of Blu-rays in Poundland near where he lives. So I was like, oh, I'll just check it out, and I was proper impressed. They're refurbished, they're all £2 a pop, which is fine. I think that's okay for a Blu-ray, for a second-hand Blu-ray, and there was loads of stuff there. Admittedly, not a lot that I wanted, but I did pick up 2 things. Now, I'm pretty certain if you paid attention to the footage, you can guess what I got, but I'm going to show you anyway. The first one I got, as I've been saying, trying to increase the sports documentaries collection on Blu-ray, picked up 89. There were so many copies of it. I looked at it a number of times. I saw it in HMV about pre-lockdown, and it was selling for like £8 or £9. So for £2, refurbished. Unfortunately, it's about Arsenal, but had to get it, picked it up. So that was one purchase. And I also got Southpaw, which I really like as a film. I've got quite a few boxing movies. I mean, they're mainly Rocky and Rocky follow-ons, but this I really enjoyed watching this. I thought it's quite heartbreaking in moments. It's good. It's a kind of redemption story. It came with a slipcover, which is always nice. And it did actually, the £2 sticker didn't damage it either, which is nice. So yeah, pick that up, £2, worth it. Not much in the way of special features on either of them. But then, if you're paying £2 for it, what do you expect? So I got those 2 from CEX. I then went into the second British Heart Foundation shop, and I had to queue outside for it because there were so many people there, and wasn't really worth it. They had loads of DVDs, but nothing really exciting. They've got a really good set of vinyl in there. I gave up vinyl collecting about 4 or 5 years ago, just because of the sheer volume and the size it takes to store them. But if I was to get back into it, I'd probably start there because they had some really good stuff for cheap, like sort of like, you know, regular stuff, not anything like mind blowing or overly collectible, but it was good. I finished the trip up by going into 2 stores, and actually this is where I spent most of my money because the charity shops, you know, they gave up some things but not a lot. The first one I went into was CEX. You saw the 50p movie section. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at the 50p movie section because I'd been out for about 2.5 hours by this point, and I was actually just ready to come home. But as I was skirting filming that clip of the video, I did see some 50p DVDs. So having said I wasn't going to buy any DVDs, I actually bought 4. Now, the reason I bought these 3 is because I think I'm going to do a video about these. And they are the one and only Santiago Munez saga. Goal 2, living the dream. Goal 3, taking on the world. 50p each. Definitely going to watch these and get rid. But I thought they'd make quite a fun little video. I've seen this one. I remember it well. I think it's actually quite good. This one I've dipped in and out of, but I can't really remember it. And this one I've never even heard of. But it has got the guy from The Business and Football Factory and stuff, who I quite like as an actor. Kind of plays the same role every time. But cool to see. So I thought I'd do a little video on these. Watch these. Expect to see that soon because it's an easy watch and it's an easy chat. So that's why I picked these up. I also picked up something for the collection in CEX, which was £8. I've sort of been trying to watch a few older movies recently. And I'm talking like older, so black and white, sort of 60s and earlier. And in the Blu-ray section was this film here, Small Town Story, which I have never heard of, but it's about football. And it's a Blu-ray disc. It's, it's a black and white movie. It's a BFI DVD, BFI Blu-ray. I thought, why not try it out? It's only a U, so it's not going to be like, it's not going to be overly dramatic. But I am actually quite looking forward to watching this because it's not one I've heard anything about. I don't recognise the name of the 2 actors that are named on there, Susan Shaw and Donald Houston. But the story sounds kind of cool, so it's all set around a football club. Looking forward to watching it. There's no special features on it whatsoever. £8 was quite steep for what it was, but I've never seen it before, so I was like, why not? Let's have this. So adding that one to the collection. The last place I went to was HMV. I want to talk about HMV briefly. I'm so grateful that Canterbury still has a HMV. I'm just going to say that. I obviously love physical media. I think for all its faults and for its lack of business insight and for the way that it's floundered and been saved multiple times, I still think HMV is a great source. When I was big into my music as a kid, I'd spend hours going through the racks in HMV. I still do. But now I've sort of focused in on the sort of the Blu-ray and the other stuff that they have in there as well. And it's just a good, like, if you've got 5 minutes and you've got a bit of money to spend, it's just a great place to go. It's the only place that I know where you can walk in and walk back out with some of these collector's editions, like your Criterion, your Arrow films, your BFI, your 88 films. What else is there? All those kind of things. They've got access to them, and it's the only place I know. And actually, the price points differ, but when they have a sale, they have a good sale. So by this point, I'd spent about £22, I think it was £21.50, something like that. So I had about £8 left. There was plenty of stuff I could have bought in there. I didn't because I didn't have enough money left. But there was all kinds of things. I really want a copy of the Life Aquatic Criterion edition because I love that film. And the packaging on the Criterion stuff is so good. And obviously it's director approved, which means Wes Anderson has had a say in the features and stuff like that. It was retailing £18. It's not overly expensive for what it is. I think Criterion you normally look at paying about £25 for. So it was a good value, but again, I had £8 to spend. I did buy something. I did spend that £8. I shamefully have never seen this film or the sequel, and I've heard a lot about it, and I feel like I need to rectify that. So for the price of $7.99 in HMV, I bought The Raid and The Raid 2, which I've heard are really good films. I need to get in on them, so I picked that up. And that, my friends, is how I spent my moolah. I hope you enjoyed this video. The plan is to do this once a month, I think, probably around payday, to a different location each time. So we might check out another town elsewhere. We're away on holiday in November, so I might do November's one somewhere completely different. But there'll probably be local Kent towns because it's just easy for me, and I already have an idea of some places I'd quite like to do a video. So If you've enjoyed this, it is on the long side, I appreciate that. But if you've enjoyed this, let me know. Obviously, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the other things. I make these videos for me. I know it sounds really pretentious, but I do. So anybody enjoying this is great. Anybody watching this, I really appreciate. So if this has 2 views or 2,000 views, either way, it's a success for me, and I really appreciate it. If you've got any more spare time and you haven't already turned off, check out Real Life Ghost Stories. That's my podcast that I do with my wife. It's probably what we're most well known for. And also check out my new podcast, which is Let Me Introduce Myself, which is where I sit down and have a conversation with someone each episode. And finally, check out any other videos that are existing on the channel at this point. I can't remember what's going to be out there at this stage. I've recorded some other bits, and yeah, thanks for joining, and I shall see you next time. Bye.